Hey guys, this week we are going to talk all about the pros and cons and the most common crap strategies, dream comps, and more, so stick around.
Welcome to the Crap Vegas podcast.
Vegas, here we come.
Vegas!
Here are your hosts, Chris and Josh.
Hello everyone, welcome to episode number 89 of the Crap Vegas podcast. I am Chris, he is Josh. What's going on out in Leavenworth, Washington, Josh?
I think I told the story last week, but I did go to Leavenworth on the way back from my road trip. But anyway, that wasn't what I wanted to talk about.
How's our Verbo doing there, Josh? Has anybody been renting it out?
It's doing great. Oh, yeah. We're getting lots of people there for Oktoberfest. Actually, We're getting close to Oktoberfest. Leavenworth is nuts at Oktoberfest.
This is episode 89. If the next 11 episodes go well, Josh, I think we should actually buy a second Verbo out there.
I thought you were going to say record live from Leavenworth.
Live from Leavenworth, Washington. This is You Can Bet on That.
That's right. No, what I was going to say is, so my wife was out of town this past weekend. And usually, family stuff takes up a lot of my weekend. This weekend, I was relatively unencumbered and was able to watch a ton of football, which is just
lucky you.
I loved it. I got to see the Seahawks' heartbreaking loss to San Francisco. I got to see the Ravens' heartbreaking loss to the Bills.
There was a lot of games that I was very shocked by the scores this past week. I mean, we've talked about a couple of them on Fading Crap Vegas, but games like the Colts just absolutely dominating, the Packers killing the Lions. There was a lot of good football this past weekend.
Yeah, there was some, unexpected for sure.
But yeah, Josh, I'm sure you had a great weekend getting to do all that. The only thing fun I did this past weekend, two things. One, Hamilton was back in theaters for one weekend only.
Right.
So my kids and I went and saw that again for the 8 millionth time, and that was a lot of fun. It was actually one of those crowds. Have you ever gone to one of these like sing-along events where the crowd like gets super into it?
Not really.
They do a lot of these like random sing-alongs on stuff nowadays when the movie does really well.
Right.
Like I remember years back they did it for Frozen, but nowadays like they did it for K-pop Demon Hunters for people that have kids.
That's what I was going
to
mention, right?
They did it for Hamilton now. And I had one of those theaters, Josh, where people were dressed up to the nines. They were singing out loud every song, dancing in the aisleways, like just pure craziness.
Wow. And they had the Jaws re-release.
They did, and I really wanted to see it.
It wasn't a sing-along, but...
No, it wasn't really a sing-along, but I couldn't convince any of my kids to come see it with me, and I wasn't going by myself.
I did have the kid watch that with me at home, by the way.
I'm sure she was terrified. I mean, because that guy gets bit, like 2 minutes into the movie?
No, actually, it was really funny because she kept saying, the Jaws music would start, and she would say, he's gonna die.
True.
She took it better than I expected.
Well, good. The only thing else I did fun this past weekend, Josh, for the first time in, years, I went to Topgolf.
Oh.
I don't know the last time you went to Topgolf, but it was, they have this deal on Sundays where for like $30 an hour, you get unlimited people at your bed, so up to 6.
Right.
So I took all the kids out there. My mother even joined us. She's a big golfer, far better than I am. So she came out there with us. It was a lot of fun, but I forgot how expensive that place is for food and drinks.
Yeah. You needed to be comped. Go to Topgolf MGM, Vegas, and we can get
I don't know if they comp it out there. That definitely would have been better. But, somehow $60 worth of golf became $192 by the time that we left. And there was no alcohol being purchased.
That's no fun. You didn't drink with your mom at Topgolf?
Yeah, and the kids,
Right.
We were on the 3rd floor, so Dad swings and misses and falls into the net. No, none of that was happening, but no, ton of fun this weekend, Josh. Glad to get all that stuff done. Going to a concert this weekend with my kids. We're busy like crazy, and I'm still desperately trying to find a day, if nothing else, just to get back to Vegas for like one night if I have to.
Life for a night.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that a little bit later in the episode, but that's my life right now. So if you don't have anything else, let's tell people how to get a hold of us. You can send us an email. That's podcast@crapvegas.com. You can join us over on our Facebook group, crapvegas.com/Facebook. You can join us over on Twitter.
X.
He's at Vegas Duffy. I'm at Small Whale 13, or the show page is at Crap Vegas. Or we would absolutely love to have you join us over on Patreon. That is patreon.com/crapvegas. You can have a 1-week free trial, and there's so much good stuff going on over there right now, Josh. You got Fading Crap Vegas that just started. We just did one of everybody's favorite earnings calls. We just kicked off our Survivor contest and our fantasy football leagues. I mean, we are just busy people over there.
You're absolutely right, Chris. Lots of stuff going on over at Patreon. It's a great way to get a hold of us. Great way to send your suggestions on things for the show, special music, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, and if you don't like the show and you want to send negative feedback, we much prefer that on Patreon. Over there, we'll even send you a response. On the normal, channel, we'll just delete it.
It's true.
There you go. Previous episode feedback. Last episode, we talked about shows that would be kind of interesting and make a splash in Vegas, Josh. We got an email from Tom talking about his opinions. He said, my vote will always be for Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's already 90 minutes long as is. Great music, huge following, cult status, right amount of goofy, convert a theater into Frank's house, do it right. It would be the perfect fit for the Vegas market. He said Book of Mormon is also a good choice, but Rocky is definitely a hit. No way it can miss. And don't do what they did with Bat Out of Hell. Give free parking. That's the only reason I didn't go to that show. If you're going to charge me for parking, I'm not going. I would have loved to seen this show. So thank you for your feedback there, Tom.
Yeah, Tom, that's a great one. And Chris, one that I just saw today, I don't know if this qualifies for your criteria, but John Fogerty is coming to do some sort of residency at Planet Hollywood. There you go.
Wow. I mean, Josh, I've been waiting years for that to happen.
I thought you might be.
Was John Cougar Mellencamp not available at the same time? They could have teamed up and had the double John John squared.
I think he doesn't use the Cougar anymore. I don't think.
Oh, he's not a Cougar anymore? He's just a Mellencamp?
He's just John Mellencamp, yeah.
I had somebody that went to a John Mellencamp concert recently, and they said all he does the whole time is complain at people like yelling out at him.
I think I saw a clip of that on like TikTok or something. So yeah,
like people would like yell for a song that they want to hear, and he would literally like stop the concert and be like, "This is my show. I'm going to play what I want to play, and I don't want to hear you. You just sit there and clap." I was like, "Oh, okay, that's what I want to hear at concerts."
You know who just finished up you would know the name of whatever they call it at the Gorge this past week or within a couple weeks.
Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah.
They are there every Labor Day weekend, have been forever. And I have told myself one day before I die, I will get out there and go to the Gorge and see a concert over Labor Day weekend. Maybe you will drag me out there sometime.
I've heard that the Friday night concert of Labor Day weekend of his was like one of the best of his ever. He played a whole album, which he hardly ever does, like front to back.
Yeah, it's very rare. It's the one thing if you're a Dave Matthews fan that you're used to. Dave, unlike all the other bands out there, other than like Fish and some of the other jam bands. Yeah, I mean, they play a completely different set every single night. Yeah. And there's no repeats from night 1 to night 2 to night 3. So if he's playing 3 nights and 23 songs a night, you're going to hear 69 different songs usually.
Right.
It's very rare that they repeat. But yes, they never do play like albums cover to cover. That rarely ever happens.
Yeah, I know. I heard that too. The closest I can think as far as like mainstream performer that kind of comes close is Springsteen. He doesn't always play the same set list. He'll pick random things. They don't plan a set list in advance, I think, that kind of stuff he likes to. So that's
the favorites though, right?
Yeah, he's always going to do Thunder Road and Born to Run and stuff for sure, which Matthews doesn't do that. Yeah.
No, they don't. I mean, if you're not a Dave Matthews fan, like, some songs, like you would know Ants Marching, Crash, and, maybe Satellite, songs like that, people know because they were radio hits. But yeah, I mean, there's maybe a 20% chance you're going to hear those on any given night when you go.
Right.
I'll get out there one day, Josh. I just haven't found the time to do it yet.
So thanks, Tom.
Yeah, absolutely. We also got an email from Ashley about Josh's Vegas trips. She said, this question is for Josh. I have noticed you over the past year have taken a bunch of different types of trips, meaning you have taken trips for convention, pure gambling, trips with Chris, nerd convention stuff, solo trips. She said, my question for you is what types of trips do you prefer the most and the least, with the understanding that you do like all the Vegas trips that you take? Thanks, Ashley.
Well, thanks, Ashley. I think if you'd asked this question 3.5 years ago when the show started, when Crap Vegas started, my answer would be different than it is today. Okay. I think I would have said I like solo trips the best. And I still really like my alone time in Vegas and the ability to kind of do whatever it is I want. But that's changed. I mean, and kind of really with Chris and the beginning of our friendship and playing together and getting together, I've really liked that. Lately, the whole video poker bar with friends things has really taken over, and that's kind of what when I think about Vegas now, it's not doing Vegas by myself as much as it used to be. I'm still really comfortable with that. I'm still comfortable going to a restaurant by myself if I want to, or that kind of thing. But it's really becoming doing more stuff with friends, whether that's you, Chris, or some of the listeners that we have, or anybody else. I've really grown to like that, trying new restaurants, trying new shows, not focused. I mean, although I'm still gambling a lot, it's not quite as much of a focus on gambling as it used to be. It's still ever present, but not as much of a focus.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Josh. I mean, especially before we met, 90% of my Vegas trips would be solo. You know, like my wife would have come with me or a girlfriend or whatever it may be. I used to do that stuff, and it's a different type of trip when you're doing that, because that was more like, okay, how do I get some gambling time today? Oh, I'll schedule
Can I get
a
an hour
6-hour
here?
spa visit, and then I'll run down while they're at the spa, and I'll try to find some time to do that. But if you asked me a couple years ago, I would have said solo trips were by far my favorite, because I'd get out there, I'd get to do what I want to do in the time I want to do it, and didn't have to answer to anything. But over time, I actually started to grow to like the trips that you and I were taking there for a while, because we were getting, we'd pick one special meal, like at a fancy restaurant we were going to try. We'd always try to find at least one show. And then, gosh, towards, some of the more recent trips, we'd find 2 shows or something.
Right.
And find something each night that we wanted to line up. But the good news was you and I are always on the same page when it comes to gambling and gambling levels. So even if Josh wanted to go to the video poker bar, I could eventually steal him away and get him on a craps table where I want to be. And he'd get me to a video poker bar that I didn't want to be at as much. But it works well. And I think it's actually better overall as a gambling trip when we're there together or with somebody else, because it does force us to take more breaks than we would typically play, and just kind of build it into the day a little bit more, some activities and stuff. So I'm always going to prefer the joint trips. And I honestly, not having played with Josh this year is just crazy to me. Don't like it. We've both been to Vegas, just we're not there together at the right time, or we're at different properties. Because one time you were at Venetian when I was at Wynn the same weekend. That was really weird. So I'm really hoping, and we're trying very hard to find some days that him and I can get there at the same time and have one of those trips. And if nothing else, I'm really trying my best to make Zorkfest weekend work, so at least I can cap my year off with something like that.
That would be awesome. One other thing I forgot about, Chris, to Ashley's question, when I think about the convention part, and really for me, it's the Star Trek convention, that's a different animal. And I love doing that. And I get myself into trouble, and I don't mean gambling trouble as much as just I enjoy it less when I try and combine that trip with my usual Vegas. So in this last one, I think I gambled too much. I don't mean gamble too much money-wise, but I just spent too much time focused on the gambling side rather than the Star Trek side, which is really what, I'm there to kind of embrace and do and things like. So I have to be careful. Really, that's the only kind of example, but maybe it kind of applies to the whole thing. Like, if this is a friends trip, I want to focus on being with friends. If this is a solo gambling trip, then I can focus on solo gambling. If it's a Star Trek trip, I can focus on that. But when I try and kind of make it everything, that's when I think I lose a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it is hard, Josh, because it's one of those cities, because at the end of the day, we're both gamblers that like to gamble. And so we have a tendency to fill our free time with gambling.
Right.
And sometimes at the expense of other activities that would probably be more productive or less costly. It's who we are as people.
Yeah. Anyway, good question.
Okay, Josh, main topic this week. We have received a bunch of emails recently about different crap strategies for newer players, and just some general questions about, which strategy is best for me as a player, and they would give specifics and stuff, and it's hard really to address on the show all these requests. But we thought the easiest thing to do was just kind of run through some of the most common strategies that you hear about on the crap side, maybe talk about some of the pros, the cons, and more importantly, who these different systems are best for and not best for, because we all know at the end of the day, none of these systems are going to be a winner long term, but they definitely do have their benefits for certain types of players.
Yeah, I think it's our listener and patron Trey who kind of said any system's going to win if you get a good roll. In craps, if you get a nice long roll, any way you play is going to win.
Well, not necessarily. And maybe we'll even talk about that in a minute. But
all right,
let's start off with by far probably the most common betting strategy for new craps players or people that just aren't as familiar with the game. And I think that's a 3-point molly.
I think so too. That's the way, then we've talked about this a little bit before, but that's the way it's really easy to introduce. There's kind of 2, and maybe you'll mention the other one too, but I think 2 kind of beginner and this maybe is down, I don't mean to diminish the 3-point Molly, but the beginner way to teach people to play a 3-point Molly or placing the pass line and then placing the 6-8 are kind of the two beginner ways you could teach people. The 3-point Molly is, I've said before, is the way I learned to play. It's a great way to play.
No, and I agree with you, but I wouldn't even call it a beginner strategy because there are plenty of long-term, 30 years of craps experience still playing a 3-point Molly every day.
Right. Absolutely. And that's what I mean. I wasn't trying to diminish it as much, saying is it's a pretty easy way to teach people to play. In fact, I have my old golf buddies that, I still go to Vegas with once in a while. One of them loves to play the 3-point Molly, although his is kind of an infinite Molly. Because he gets excited about
it's a 5-point Molly sometimes,
right,
6-point
exactly.
Molly. You never know what it's going to be.
It's a crapless. It could be who knows how many.
Okay, so let's tell the people that aren't 100% familiar with that or aren't bigger craps players what a 3-point Molly even is. All that means is that you're taking the pass line on the come out roll, probably putting some odds behind it, although you don't have to. But what makes it the 3-point Molly is that as the game is established, as the point gets established, you're going on, you're going to take 2 more come bets with odds potentially. So at any point, you may have 3 numbers that you would get paid on. So first, I figure it's most important to talk about the pros of any system that we're talking about. And Josh, I'm sure you have some, but I jotted down some just quick thoughts on pros of the 3-point Molly. And I said it keeps constant action. So you have, you get 3 numbers up there that you can hit at different times. You aren't just limited to a single number. It's got a low house edge, especially when you take odds. I mean, there's nothing better than taking a pass line with odds or a come bet with odds. And that's what this is. So statistically, it's a great way to play. I think this is the most important one in my eyes. It's structured and disciplined in approach. So it prevents you from over betting in certain situations, like getting super frustrated and start making weird plays.
Right.
People that are 3-point Molly players, they know exactly what they're going to do. It doesn't matter what the dice do. It doesn't matter what numbers come. You don't have to think about, I'm going to press this right now or do this. It just all seems to work out.
It does. The one thing I say, you talk about kind of it's easy to, you can be disciplined. I do see people occasionally, and this is my buddy that I was talking about as a good example, like go past the 3. You get excited about the moment and you just like, I'll place a 4th, a third come bet, that kind of thing. But that's the only, otherwise, it's a very kind of regimented, easy way to play. You're not really pressing your bets. We'll talk about that the same way you do as place bets or buy bets, that kind of thing. It's easy to kind of stay at a certain level.
Yep. And I think it gives you flexibility too, because if you're playing a 3-point Molly, when it comes to the odds that you can take on any of those 3 numbers that you have, you can change it. You can take max odds to start. And if you start to think, I think this roll is going to come to an end soon, you can pull those odds down completely. The only thing you're stuck with is just that base bet.
And for newer players, if you don't want to play odds on your 3-point Molly or on your pass line bet, it's still a fine bet. I mean, the house edge, I don't have the numbers in front of me, something like 1.5% for a pass line bet with no odds.
Sure.
And that's going to be the same as the come bets and with no odds. So if you find a $15 table and you want to sit there and play for $45, is that what, right?
Yeah.
Math is hard.
Josh, I think we have missed on the most important pro though of the whole system.
Okay.
This is one of the few systems out there that people use that gives you 0.7 out protection.
Yes.
Which is something that kills most craps players is when you get that immediate 7 after a point's established. If you're a 3-point Molly player, the only exposure that you really have is just the odds on your pass line at that point.
Right.
Because they're going to wipe out against each other. One come bet's going to win, the pass line's going to lose. If you didn't take any odds, it's perfect break even for you. Right. I mean, it's a great system from that side of things. Josh always used to say, if you can't be good, be quick, if you're a 3-point Molly player.
Yep.
And that's 100% true. The worst thing that can happen is you get all your points established, get all your numbers established, put odds down, then 7 out. No, you got to do it quickly.
See, I didn't even think of that as a pro. I mean, that line, my default, when I was a 3-point Molly player, I would say that line every time, if you can't be good, be quick. That's what my wife says too. That was a great line. It's like my orange juice separate from my Diet Coke. Those are great laugh lines that I have at the craps table.
No, I hear you, Josh. So let's talk about the cons, the negative side of things. I think it can be boring compared to some more action-packed betting styles.
Yes, and using my last trip, I think when I played last time I was at wherever we were, Venetian maybe with Boring Jack and his friend Brian in Maryland, and Jack was playing the 3-point Molly, I think, if my memory is right. And we had a great roll, and I won a lot, and Jack won too, but he didn't win nearly as much because he was just on the 3-point molly, nice kind of conservative strategy. And that wasn't as exciting. He didn't have his bets pressed up the way I did, which is fine.
Yeah. I think another con of the system, Josh, it requires a bigger bankroll if you are taking full odds.
Yes.
Because even at a $15 table, if this is a 3, 4, 5 property, I mean, you're going to have somewhere between 10, 12 times the odds out there, depending on what we're talking about, over 3 numbers spread out, averaging, say, 4 per number.
Right.
So on a $15 table, on average, you're taking $60 in odds. I mean, that's $225 for 3 numbers on a $15 table. It's not a tiny number.
No, it's not. And you don't have to play that way, but that is if you're going to play it the way that maximizes your edge or minimizes the house edge, then taking full odds is the way to go. And you're right, that is expensive.
And you touch base on this a little bit, Josh. I do think it's harder to press your bets when you're on a hot roll when you're a 3-point molly player.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different ways you can go. You can always tell them not to take a bet down. That is a choice that you have. You can leave your come bet up there and not have it come down as it usually would if there's not a replacement come bet up. Hopefully, we're not getting too deep into craps talk. You could do that.
Now, Josh, that would be a put bet is what that is.
Yeah, I know. You could do that. You could also just then go higher on your next come bet. So if you were playing at a 15, if your regular come bet started at 15, you could go to 20 or 25 on the next come bet as a way to press. But it doesn't have the same feel to it as you and I if we're pressing place bets and buy bets.
Yeah, and my final con I had, Josh, is you mentioned this a little bit earlier, and I pushed back on you a tad. You could theoretically have a decent roll and make no money as a 3-point molly player. Now, you can do the same thing if you're just taking like just the 6 and 8.
Right.
I mean, you could be a 3-point molly player that has the pass line with the 4 as the point, and 9 and 10 are your additional come bets, and every roll is 5, 6, 8, 5, 6, 8 over and over again, and you make no money. So there is a chance there could be a great roll and you make nothing.
Yes, that is possible. And the only way to fix it is the way that Chris and I play, which is to cover all the numbers.
Oh, it fixes all the problems. And we'll talk about
what
that.
What could go wrong, right?
So, Josh, who do you think this is the best system for when we're talking 3-point molly?
Well, I think it's for people who are relatively, you don't want to play don't pass. You don't want to play don't come. So you want to be with the table. Mm-hmm. You're relatively risk averse. You're a little more conservative. You're maybe interested in minimizing the house edge as much as you can. And that's probably the best way to play as far as minimizing house edge.
Yep.
And I would say those are probably you want to play longer at the table, get a little less exposure than we do, especially right away, going across the way we play.
Yeah. I mean, my note was it's for people that value longevity over volatility.
Yeah.
Like if staying at the table longer without the huge swings potentially, I feel like that a 3-point molly system can do that more. Now, the more odds you take, the more your volatility is going to increase. But as just a base system without factoring in the odds, it's one of the safer ways to play.
Yeah. And one thing we didn't touch on yet, Chris, and maybe you have this in your notes, is comps.
Sure. Yeah.
And the fact that if you're a 3-point molly player, most places in Las Vegas, and maybe local properties too, but most of the properties in Las Vegas that I know of do not count your odds in your average bet calculation. So you are losing, quote unquote, losing a lot of average bet value by playing either odds on your pass line, but more specifically to this example, odds for your come bets. You're not getting credit from the house for that amount of money. So that does minimize your potential for getting comps.
Yeah, that was the first note I had for people this system is not for, is people that want to chase comps. Because you're not going to get them. You're going to get rated very poorly doing this system, so don't expect a lot on the back end. I don't think it's good for people that chase like really heavy excitement. Mm-hmm. That's not what this system is for. And it's also not really good for regression bettors, because even though you can take your odds down, you are stuck with those come bets and your pass line bet. They're out there no matter what. Yep. So you can't be one of those people that play the 6-8 and it hits once and then just pull it down. You don't have that option when you're doing this.
Right. That's absolutely right. It's a great way to play, a really good way to play, but it isn't for everybody. It's not for
absolutely not.
I think for me and Chris, it's the comps, but more importantly than that, it's the kind of the thrill that we get of having every number covered and pressing them up if the table gets hot and that kind of thing.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Josh. You talked about covering every number. Let's talk about the second strategy that I see more than anything out there, and that's the Iron Cross strategy. I'm sure you are very familiar with it.
I'm familiar with it. I've never played it. It doesn't hold any appeal to me. And we can talk about why that might be, but yeah.
But I know there's a lot of people that love it. So those not familiar, the Iron Cross strategy is effectively making a couple different bets. What it is, it's a combination of place bets on the 5, 6, and 8. And then it's a field bet with it. And what that accomplishes is every number that rolls on the table other than a 7 will be a winner for you, because the field bet wins on 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Right.
And then the 5, 6, and 8 place bets you have fill the gap for what you don't have on a field bet. So any number that rolls other than 7, you're going to be a winner. Some people love that. That is a big pro of it, that you're getting paid on effectively every roll. And that's big for some people.
Yeah. Why do you think, Chris, people play that as opposed to placing or buying all the numbers? What's the advantage that you would say?
I think they like picking up the horn numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And there's less bets that you have to make that way.
Right.
I think
you could do it for less.
You could do the same thing in other ways. And I think mathematically do better by doing it in different ways. But I think people really like a field bet to cover, 7 different numbers on a roll. And especially if we're talking about in Vegas where it pays triple on the 2 or the 12, where statistically it's not a horrible bet. So I think other pros, if you like action and frequent hits, if you want to feel like you're always winning, I think that this is a really good strategy for you. And I think more importantly, for people that are just walking up and want to try something a little bit more advanced than a 3-point Molly, but not as much as having to make like 6 or 7 bets, I think it's really good because it's fairly easy to implement. You can pass some money and say, give me the 5, 6, 8, and you can put the field bet out yourself every time.
Yeah, and I think when you said easy to implement, that triggered in my head. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we've talked before that generally our experience as dealers don't like to have to, they don't like dealing with constant shifting of bets, whether it's regression or moving a 6 to an 8, bouncing back and forth, bets being off and on. Yes. And this gives you the ability to kind of do something similar without having to have dealers do all the work.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about some of the cons then, Josh, of the Iron Cross system. I think the house edge is relatively high because you do have a decent amount of exposure on every roll since you're making effectively 4 bets at all times.
Right. And it is harder and harder to find those field bets that pay triple on the 2 and the 12. A lot of times you're just getting double, and that changes the field bet house edge significantly.
Well, I can't remember the last time I saw a property that paid triple on both the 2 and 12.
No. But you're finding it's harder even to find it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. No. I meant it's harder to even find it on one number.
Yeah, no, it can be. I mean, main Vegas properties on the Strip, not much of an issue that I've noticed.
Right.
But then again, we're not exactly playing at Luxor every week either, Josh.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to say.
That's true.
Okay, let's talk about some of the other cons. Biggest one in my eyes, any 7 wipes out multiple bets at once. That's the big issue with a lot of strategies. You're going to wipe out all of your bets on the table when a 7 comes. And I think also long term, you're going to have losses start creeping into the system just due to the math itself. You just don't get that much when you win. You win a lot, but you don't win that much because your bets are actually going against each other. When a 5, 6, or 8 hits, so your place bet wins, your field bet just lost.
Right.
So potentially you might not make much at all depending on what the bet values are. And conversely, if your field bet wins, that means your place bets aren't winning. You do usually far better when the field bets are hitting. That's typically how it works in an Iron Cross system. But just overall, I don't like when you have a bet when it wins, it causes another bet to lose on the same roll.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, of course, a 0.7 wipes you out completely like mini systems. That's where you had the protection on the 3-point Molly. And this one, all 4 of your bets are going to lose.
Right.
Okay, so Josh, who do you think this is the best system for?
Well, you talk about a 3-point Molly being good for risk-averse people. This is this can be a very inexpensive way to play craps. If you have a very limited bankroll, you'd be at $66 on a $15 table. You can play for a long time. Really, I mean, the 7 obviously is what kills you, but lots of numbers can make you, like Chris said, if you're winning in one place, you can be losing another and kind of pushing money back and forth. You can play for a while. Let's see, what else? Who else do you think would be good for it, Chris?
I think a lot of people that are, I call social players, they like this system because they're constantly winning. And so, it builds the excitement at the table for them because they're constantly being handed money. Whereas even the way that we play on a horn number, we're getting nothing on those rolls. And I think, you're right. Longer table time that's really who this is targeting, because this system will make you last longer. But on the not for side, Josh, I don't think this is a system for anybody that has any desire to make a large sum of money playing craps.
No, not if you're just sticking straight to the Iron Cross. You're not doing anything funky, different strategies that involve pressing and things like that. No, you're just going to play for a long time and kind of push the money back and forth. And
it's going to slowly, I think, drain down from you is what it's going to do.
Yeah.
There's not much opportunity to really get way up unless you just have a shooter that's hitting every horn number every time. So, you're constantly getting paid on the field or, hitting those doubles or triples, whatever it may be. That feels like the only chance you have to really make some decent money.
Yeah.
Okay, Josh. So that wraps up the Iron Cross. The third one is by far the one that's most near and dear to my heart. What Josh introduced me and had me start playing, because when I first met Josh, I was just an inside bettor. But here we are, Josh. Let's talk about playing a cross, which is what we do at all times. And if you're not familiar, that means that we're just taking every box number. We're buying the 4 and 10, and we're placing the 5, 6, 8, 9, whatever's available. And we keep that up at all times. When the point changes, we just take whatever's missing on the board. And Josh and I have all those box numbers covered at all times.
Yep. And even on Crapless, for the most part, we're playing all the numbers, the same thing.
We add the horn numbers. We have those going. If you can have it, sometimes Josh will not take the 5 and 9.
Right.
Just to switch it up a little bit. And when we play Crapless, we actually do go heavier on the 6, 8 still than the other numbers. But beyond that, though, Josh, we love having every number on the table. Pros of the system. I mean, when you have coverage on every number, just like the Iron Cross, you're getting paid on every single roll that's not a 7. And since it's not a field bet versus a place bet sort of situation, you're not even hedging your own bets against each other. You're just getting paid out every time a number hits.
Yeah, and it can be wonderful in that way. And it's easy to press.
Yes.
I usually will collect 1 or 2 bets before I start pressing, and I'll normally press a unit or whatever the equivalent of the bet is to start in my pressing. It's very easy to do that. It's an easy way to play, and it is an easy way to teach new players to play. It's not necessarily a good way, but the other thing it does is it maximizes your comp potential at a craps table. I don't know if there's a better way to play, Chris. Maybe you can think of one, but better way to play that maximizes your comps, because you're getting your average bet calculated based on every single one of your place bets, buy bets, your pass line bet, not your pass line odds, as I mentioned earlier, but your pass line bet, and all those box numbers go into your average bet amount. So it's a great way, quote unquote, great way to play craps for comps.
Yeah. And more importantly, I think the fun factor, it's there. When you're playing every number, I mean, you can there's nobody that does a better job than a cross bettors, I feel like, when it comes to taking advantage of big rolls.
Yes.
Because you're already out there, you're on the numbers, you're pressing as you go. It's easy to press when you're in a cross better. Everybody presses differently.
Right.
But there are plenty of cross bettors. Like if the 6 and 8 hit, then they put that on the 5-9 or the 4-10 and kind of work their way out for the bigger payouts. But I mean, you're making so much money on those good rolls where, say a 3-point Molly player, like we said earlier, it may be hitting the numbers they're not on and they're missing on all those rolls.
Right. Even if you're not a player that presses their bets and you just go 270 across and you just let it sit there.
Collect.
If a roll is great, you're still going to make good money.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just a fun way to play. There is no but, Chris.
There are just a couple small negatives that I can think of. We should probably mention just to be fair and objective. Josh, very expensive to get started.
Yes.
Even on a $15 table, if that's what you're doing. I mean, you got $75, you got $81 that you got to play to go across.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're doing that at a $15 on the 4 and 10, those are going to be place bets and not buy bets. So it won't pay as well. You're going to pay 9 to 5 there. But anyways, I mean, it's an expensive system when you first start off, and especially as you start raising that minimum that you're playing at, because you are taking out so many numbers and exposing yourself so much after the point is established.
Yes. One thing we didn't talk about, Chris, when we were talking about the 3-point Molly, and this applies kind of to our across betting on the opposite way, is the whole theory of a number has to hit twice. So we didn't talk about, when we're talking about 3-point Molly, some players don't like that as much, and they like to play a place bet, buy bet strategy like our across, because there's the whole theory that a number only has to hit one time. You pick the number you want to bet, it only has to hit one time for you to get paid.
Yes.
And what do you think about that?
I mean, it's wrong.
Right.
And everybody that says that is always wrong, and because they always ignore that first roll, the come out on it, where a 7 and 11 win. And that's something you can't ignore. It's absolutely massive. Now, of course, yes, the 2, 3, 12 lose as well. But that first roll is where you have the huge advantage in this bet. That's where it truly is making you, any money that you're making is on that first roll. Now, that being said, one of the only reasons I don't particularly love it is because when you're talking about 3-point Molly, yes, 7 and 11 on those come bets win, but a 7 also means that your pass line just lost. So again, you're betting against yourself at that point. You could get an 11, which doesn't hurt your pass line and does win on the come bet. But I feel like it loses just a hair of value there, because especially once you're established on another come bet and you're going for your third, if a 7 comes, you just wiped out 2 bets to win 1.
Right.
And I don't particularly like that. But, Josh, one of the cons of this system, like all systems, 1-7 wipes out every bet on the table, and you got a bunch of different numbers out there. So that really sucks.
Yeah. And I mean, Chris has talked about, we sometimes will play starting at 500 or 600 across, and,
Usually.
immediate 0.7 comes and you get a couple of those in a row, and it
hurts.
It really hurts. And whatever
really
level you're playing, if you're playing 270 across, if you're playing 135, if you're playing 81, whatever your budget supports, those 0.7s
either way.
Yeah, those 0.7s just are painful, and you get 2 or 3 or 4 of those in a row, which can absolutely happen, and it can just kill you.
And Josh, one more con worth mentioning: when you play across, the only con, like real con in my eyes, now, of course, those other things we just mentioned are huge cons.
Right.
But the one that always gets to me the dearest is the fact that we do have to get a decent amount of number hits before we get our original buy-in back.
Yes.
So in certain systems, that's not the case. If we're talking like an iron cross, if you hit a number on the first, you could hit a 12 on the first roll and probably get your money back for the whole thing at that point if you wanted to.
Right.
But when we're talking about betting across, if we have $600 out there, even if a 4 comes, which is about the best thing Josh and I can have hit, a 4 or a 10, we're getting back $200 out of the 6. So even 3 4s and 10s in a row just to get back even. And that's a lot of 4s and 10s to ask for. So on longer rolls, we absolutely kill it, can make a lot of money. On shorter rolls, the average roll, you get in that 5, 6 range, it's not great as a system.
Yes. And one thing we didn't talk about, Chris, that's another disadvantage to the cross strategy, and this applies to a number of place buy bets, is if you are placing, and not buying, but if you're placing the 5 and 9, it's not a good, I should say, if you're placing the 5 and 9, it's a much higher house edge on those two numbers.
4%. I mean, that's massive compared to almost anything else we've talked about today.
And that's not to be, I do it too. I play it. But I'm always aware in the back of my head, this is not particularly a good bet that I'm making. And that's something that you should be aware of if you're going to play across.
Well, and when you're making this many bets, that's so much more house edge adding up against you in the long run.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just one number that you're dealing with house edge. You got 6 different numbers that you're talking about house edge on. It does get up there pretty quickly, but you're right on that. Josh, who do you think this system is absolutely best for, other than just saying us?
People that like the adrenaline that a craps table can bring. People that want to rush. People that aren't as bankroll sensitive, first of all.
Yes.
I think that's an important thing. You've got to have a pretty big bankroll and be able to withstand some pretty big swings.
Yes.
But if you just want to play and have the potential to make a ton, depending on how you're playing and how you're pressing
or
and
lose
that
a
kind
ton.
of thing. But right, absolutely, or lose a ton. But if your goal is to, you want to hit it big, playing across, and there's different ways to power press and things like that, and all kind. But that's how you would, that's one way to start it.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about betting across, I think 2 things in my mind, characteristics of those players. One, they're extremely aggressive. There's no such thing as a passive across player. Those people don't exist. If you're betting across, you're a mindset kind of like Josh and I, where you want the big hits. You can live with the big losses at the same time, but that's what you're chasing. And of course, the second part is having a big bankroll, because you can't play across without a pretty decent sized bankroll, no matter what level you're at. Even if it's a $15 table and that's what you're comfortable at, you can't walk up to a $15 table with $300 or $400 and want to play across and have success.
Right. Yeah. You've got to have a big bankroll and be able to withstand those swings. And you hopefully are okay, to your point earlier, if you lose it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we've kind of hit Josh on the people that it's not good for. People without big bankrolls, conservative players, people who like a lot of longevity at the table, because you can play across and be gone in like 3 minutes, depending on what's going on.
Yeah. I remember one time playing at one of the tribal casinos. This is a long time ago, and I don't know what I was playing, maybe 81 across or something like that. And, hit 5 or 6.7s in a row, something like that. And
happens all the time.
I've been there 5 minutes and I just blew through whatever it was, $1,200 at the time, or, who knows how much, but it was my entire day's bankroll. I'm like, it was 5 minutes. What happened?
Yeah. Well, Josh, that was my last note. I mean, we talk about how good playing across is for your rating. Mm-hmm. It is, but there's so much volatility that I would actually say it's not the best system for those that are truly chasing cups.
Right.
If that's what you're trying to do, I wouldn't bet across, because yes, they may, Josh and I, when we play, even when I play locally, Josh, my average rating at a table nowadays is typically in like the $1,200 to $1,500 range.
Right.
Starting with 600 across, because that number gets up so quickly as I press. But at the same time, to last at that kind of level playing when you get some bad swings, you better have a massive bankroll to make that work. Because what's going to end up happening, you're going to get a huge rating for what your actual play is, but they're only going to have you in the system for 13 minutes.
Chris, what do you think would be a good, and maybe you have this on your notes, but what do you think would be a good way to play that kind of bridges that gap? I'm thinking of pass line and 6-8 being a kind of a really nice way to play that can allow you to capture some of that momentum, because you're placing the 6 and 8. They're common numbers to hit. They're relatively low house edge. You can press them aggressively if you want. They're not going to give you the same variance as you'd get with heavy 4-10 action, that kind of thing. I think that's a really nice way to play if you want to kind of be a middle ground, get good rating, because you're going to get, not good, but decent rating, because you're going to get rated on the 6-8. What do you think? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Josh. I didn't have playing 6-8 with pass line in my notes of a system to talk about today.
Right.
Before you started responding, I was just going to say play the inside, which it does expose you to that 5-9 with a huge house edge on it. But it's a decent bridge between playing across and just doing something a little bit more basic, because let's face it, as much as I love 4s and 10s more than anything, it's my favorite numbers.
Me too.
They don't hit as much. So if you can take those out of the mix, you're going to lower that volatility pretty significantly. And then, you can get a really good rating playing 4 numbers and a pass line. That's a lot to get out there, and you should have some reasonable longevity.
Yeah, I think so for sure. And you can, we're not going to go through every system and craps and all that kind of stuff, but kind of similar to across, there's playing inside, as Chris mentioned, there's playing the evens, there's, things like that are ways to kind of do the same thing, but maybe slightly less variance or slightly less action.
Well, let's talk about the last system, Josh, I just wanted to bring up, and this is not something that's near and dear to our hearts at all. What about the people that like to play the don't pass, but then play unlimited don't come bets with it, which is extremely common?
Continuous don't come is what you're saying?
Yeah, continuous don't come.
It has no appeal to me.
Me either.
I don't even understand. I just can't even wrap my mind around the person that would play that, what the joy would be in playing that. What do you think?
I feel like the people that do that are just super driven by math, because analytically it is the best way to play.
True.
It is. And I think, people that just do not care what anybody else feels about them. You cannot be a social craps player and be a continuous don't come better. They don't exist, because people are going to hate you. There's just no way around it unless you're playing at a table by yourself.
And you really can't get on a run the way you can on
No, because you're rooting for the 7, which, yes, it's going to win your bets that are out on the table, but it's going to start you completely over.
Right. So there's no way to kind of press the way that, if you're into that, press the way we can if we're playing across and we get a 45-minute roll or something. You're just not going to hit the way you would.
Yeah, we've talked about, I guess, what some people would call the pros of it, Josh. Just statistically, it's a good way to play. You can build your bankroll a little bit as you get going, usually playing that strategy. Cons, it's emotionally tough, because you're going to be the hated player at the table. You're rooting against everybody else when you're playing this way. Variance can still hit you. People get on hot rolls, and there's nothing Josh and I enjoy more than watching don't players
picking off those don't players,
one at a time and making the point, and it's so fun to watch. And they have to risk so much more money to win what we win on the bright side.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is you're paying so much more to get less.
Yeah.
And that just never appealed to me.
Oh, I agree. I mean, like on a 4 and 10, you have so many of those players, Josh, that come to a table and want to lay the 4 and 10. It comes, which is effectively, we're getting into the same sort of thing as a continuous don't come better. But I mean, I just don't get it when it pays 1 to 2, or the people that talk about buying, they want to lay like a 2, 3, 11, 12 at a crapless table. And there's not many places that allow that. There are some, but like I'm thinking, even if they would allow you to do it, who wants to lay 6 times the amount to win 1? I mean, who wants to do that? I don't know anybody that would want to do that.
And it's fine when it's hitting, and then all of a sudden it doesn't, and it takes forever to climb that mountain back. Right.
I mean, can you imagine having to bet, $120 to win $20 on a 2?
No, that's why I don't want to play that way. Right.
In my eyes. Yeah. I don't see it. I mean, we talked about who might be good for, who it's not good for. I mean, if you want to have fun, I don't think it's the right way to play. If you want to be social in just any way, shape, or form, if you want to be the most hated person in the casino, I don't have a lot for it. But I felt like we had to mention the dark side a little bit, right?
Now, there are some strategies that involve some of one and some of another, meaning some place bets, buy bets, pass line, and some don't come strategies. And most of that is just another way to play for longer. You're not going to, if you're playing either side, you're likely not going to win a ton over a long period of time or lose a ton. You're just going to push money back and forth for a while.
You'll occasionally see some people that play the pass line and then lay the 4 and 10, things like that. I mean, it happens. And of course, you see don't players every once in a while that play the pass and the don't pass. It's the dumbest thing in the world. I don't understand why they would do it. And casinos aren't idiots. They know what you're doing. And you're not going to get a lot of comp value off of it. So I really just don't know. Like, unless you just like standing at a craps table, and I guess unless a 12 comes, you're pretty much good.
You're in good shape, right?
Okay.
So, Chris, overall, I think we should kind of close with craps is such a fun game because there are all these different ways you can play it. Yes. And that's part of the reason we love it. I mean, slot machines, there's one way to play your game. I mean, you can change your bet and your denomination and that kind of thing, but you're just pressing the button and crossing your fingers. Video poker, you have a little more control, but in craps, you have an unlimited amount of control, not just and I don't mean control in dice control. I mean in control in the way you play and the strategies you play and how you approach the game. And think about, are you into risk? Do you want to play for a long time? Do you have a big bankroll? Do you just want to stand there and drink for a while? What are you going for? What's the reason you want to play craps?
I'm with you here, Josh. I'm glad we got to talk about all these things. Hopefully it helps some of our listeners have some direction if there are newer craps players on some potential options for them. But after the break, we'll answer a couple listener questions and spin the big wheel, so stick around. Josh, Zorkfest 2025, tell me all about it.
Well, I've been told it's just the right amount of loyalty and comps. Did you know that?
Just the tip.
Just the tip. Just the perfect right amount.
That's
so
right.
Anyway, Zorkfest is coming up. It's going to be at the M Resort this year, which I'm super excited to go to. I've never been to M, so I'm excited to stay there, play there. It's going to be December 5th through the 7th, 2025. Really fun weekend. One thing I did want to mention, there's still some tickets available for Coffee Dice, which I believe is going to be Sunday morning. So get your tickets. It's going to be a lot of fun. Coffee Dice is always one of the big hits of the event. We had 2 tables last year, so go ahead and get those tickets. And then we're going to have a Friday night reserve craps table for our patrons too. So, and those tickets I think will go on. They're not going to be on sale, but they're just be available, I think, August 1st-ish or so. But get tickets for Coffee Dice because that is filling up. Really excited for Zorkfest. Hope to see everybody there. We'll have some surprise guests. Who knows who might show up?
Ooh, so if you want to get on over there, get signed up, get your tickets and all that good stuff taken care of, head on over to Zorkfest.com. That's ZORKFEST.com. Josh, VideoPoker.com is now an official sponsor of the Crap Vegas podcast. For those that aren't familiar, VideoPoker.com is the ultimate destination for video poker players. With paid memberships, you get exclusive training tools, real-time feedback on the plays that you're making, the most popular game variations out there. Whether you're trying to fine-tune your strategy or just take your game to the next level, VideoPoker.com has you covered.
You've heard Chris and I talk about it before this even came about. We love it. For training, I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm on it almost every day trying to train myself on stupid Ultimate X.
I have been too recently.
Exactly.
It's really cool because it will tell you, like, you've made the right decision on 87 out of 100 hands.
Right.
And it tells you exactly what you should have done if you make a mistake when you're making your choices. It keeps all that information historically for you so you can kind of go back and see how things are going. Josh, it's just a really good tool if you're going to be a serious video poker player. And as I start to get into it more, I feel like if I'm going to do this, it's like blackjack basic strategy. I need to know the best plays so I can eliminate the house edge as much as possible.
That is exactly right. I've been doing it almost nonstop on 3-line Ultimate X, and you can choose when you're going in and configuring your games. You can say, I want to play Ultimate X, I want to play double. I'm playing in a machine that's going to give me 9-5 or 8-5 or whatever it is. You can choose
the pay table that you want.
All that stuff.
Yeah, you can choose all that stuff. It is 100% customizable once you get into the paid higher levels of the plans. And even if you don't want to pay for it, I understand that. They have a free membership. You got to watch a couple ads before you get into the game. Still worthwhile doing at the beginning, and maybe you'll see, okay, this is something I like, so I want to upgrade. But either way, if you're ready to play over there, we'd love for you to go over to crapvegas.com/poker to get signed up. Listener questions. We got an email from Misty. Misty said, hey guys, love your show, but I need your help. Is there a secret craps table in Vegas somewhere that doesn't hate me? I feel like it has been since the Clinton administration since I had a winning session. Seriously though, where do you guys tend to have the most luck, and where can you never win at? Thanks for the great show, Misty.
Oh, geez. Thanks, Misty. I don't know if I can't think of a place off the top of my head that I think I'm always lucky there. I think overall I've had better. I mean, when I think about like my biggest craps hits, and for that matter, video poker, it's been at Win. Really,
it has been. That's where I had my huge royal flush.
Yeah, that's where I've had some great craps rolls. I think that's more coincidence than anything else. But
sure,
honestly, when I think about that, I mean, like I got killed on video poker last trip at Venetian Palazzo and at Aria. So,
I mean, Josh, I didn't even think about video poker when you said this, but yep, that's where my royal flush is too. Is at Win, and I played a bunch of video poker at Venetian and never had that happen. I think it's just because at the level that we play, Josh, we play heavy at Win more so than even any other place. So I think that's always where we're going to remember the biggest wins coming from, because just the amount that we play there. But at the same time, I've had most of my huge wins have come from Win, and most of my big losses actually come from Venetian Palazzo.
Yeah, I think overall, Misty, I wish I could say I have a magical place that I go to bring me luck. I would love that. I was thinking when I had the nice craps run with Jack that we talked about earlier, that was at Venetian. I think it was on the Venetian side.
Okay.
And not the Palazzo side, but I could be wrong, but I think so. It just, I mean, it varies. I wish there was magic to it. I know you want to win, but.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter where you're playing at the end of the day. It's the same game one way or another. I will say, Josh, I used to play a lot at Cromwell and had a lot of really good luck there. And then I would bounce around to other Caesars properties, Planet Hollywood, Flamingo. Right. Couldn't win there if my life depended on it. Love those places, just couldn't win there.
Yeah, I mean, overall, it comes down to find if you're playing a live game, or even if you're playing video poker at a bar, but find a crew you love. Find Rick and Jay and Liz and whoever, or Barb over at Venetian, or whoever it is that's a bartender you like, and just play and enjoy that time. And hopefully the win will come. Okay,
Josh, we got an email from Austin. Austin said, I think every Vegas visitor has dreams of comps or experiences that they think will never happen. Along that idea, here are a couple questions for your show. First, what is the one comp you have never gotten but always dreamed about?
Well, Austin, great question. I think the comp that I've never gotten that I've always dreamed about is maybe a room that had a butler.
Ooh,
or a villa that, the same idea, but
I gotcha.
Like it was something like that I didn't have to ask for, just gave it to me. All of a sudden, Josh has got a room with a butler, or a villa with a pool, with a private pool, or, that kind of thing.
I get you. I mean, Josh, how many times have we had rooms at Venetian Palazzo that had a butler suite right next to us?
Yes.
And we're like, can't you just walk over and help us too while you're up here?
If you don't know, if you haven't been at Venetian on some of the floors, some of the rooms you go down a hall, the hall that Chris and I oftentimes get assigned a room to. And some of the rooms have butler doors and some of the rooms don't. So we're walking by we're walking by the butler room doors.
Yeah, it is kind of depressing. Josh, I was thinking about this. The only thing I could really come up with, like a dream comp, I would love just for one time, one of my hosts to say, Chris, I'll fly you out here if you can make it. Like just having a comp, like not like a comp on the cost of the airfare.
Right.
Like that happens. That's not that big of a deal.
Right.
But if we're talking about like, I want them to send the jet
You
to
want a
Louisville,
PJ?
Kentucky. Yes. Yes. I want the PJ. I want the private jet to come pick me up and take me to Vegas. I feel like if that ever happens, I will have officially made it.
Yeah, that's a really good one. And yeah, that would be, I can't even imagine that as far as that. That seems less attainable to me even than a butler or a villa.
Yeah, I mean, the cost on that is much higher.
Yes.
Now, Josh, it's much more likely to happen for you, though. Because, I mean, you're coming from Seattle,
It's a shorter flight, yeah.
which is a much shorter flight. That would be significantly
I'll tell
cheaper.
our host, send the jet.
Well, it's a major metropolitan because they could pick up you and a couple other people at the same time.
Yes.
I mean, that would be good.
Yeah.
We got a lot of show listeners that live in Seattle. You guys could all get picked up at the same time. Nobody else is over here with me in Kentucky, so it is across the country. It's not exactly the smallest flight. So,
oh, Chris, speaking of butlers, I've been told that at least at Venetian Palazzo, butlers are $1,500 of your comp per day.
interesting.
Yes.
Okay,
Just
not
as
worth it. Definitely would not be worth it for me. I couldn't take anywhere near that kind of value out of it.
I don't think I could. There's no way I would. I mean, I decline housekeeping half the time.
Exactly.
What do I need with a butler?
Okay, second part of Austin's question, Josh. She asked last, what is the comp that you haven't received but think you will sooner than later? So what is the realistic comp, not the dreamish, the most dreamy comp that you could ever have, one that you haven't got yet, but you think will happen sooner than later?
I think, and we've talked about this as something we would like, and I think it's probably attainable for both of us without too much effort.
Okay.
Maybe given to us is a room with a pool table.
Okay, I like that idea. I didn't think of that, and we have talked about it before.
I think that could be,
there are some
I think we're close, right?
Well, like we've looked before at properties, like which properties have suites with pool tables.
Yeah.
And like there's a couple like, well, before you burnt them a couple weeks ago, Josh, I'm sure Caesars would have given you a suite that had a pool
They still
table.
might. They're desperate.
That is true. Josh, I was trying to think of something in my mind. The only thing I even really came up with, because I feel like I've got everything I want to get at this point that seems reasonable, is like maybe like a behind the scenes meet and greet with like a celebrity sort of thing. Like I could see, like Wynn's done this before where I got tickets to see, who was it? It was Willie Nelson and Taylor.
Oh yeah,
Sheridan.
Sheridan? I was going to say Taylor Lautner, but that's not the
Taylor
right Taylor.
Lautner. Yeah, wrong guy. But but that's what it was. Like I feel like that is something that could happen. But other than that, I got nothing.
When you talk about the back of the house or back behind the scenes kind of thing, I mean, I think about that sometimes just as, would it be fun? It would be fun for the show to talk about, hey, Chris and I got to tour of the back of the house at wherever Venetian and saw the employee dining room and that kind of thing. That's not really a dream comp thing, but I think it would be fun to do at some point.
I agree. Okay, Josh, final question this week. We got a message on Patreon from Allie. Allie said, Chris and Josh, love the show and was recently thinking about bankroll. I'm going to list a couple casinos, and I'm curious what you think the necessary bankroll is for a player to be considered a bigger player there. And by that, I mean someone with an RFB comp and a decent amount of free play. You ready?
Yes.
Okay, starting off, Josh. Luxor.
Well, thanks, Allie. I think Luxor, I think you could be treated pretty well. And when we say bankroll, Chris, are we talking like, let's say Friday through Sunday?
Sure. Let's say a normal weekend trip for somebody.
Yeah.
2 nights.
I think you could do all right with like a 3, 4, 5,000.
Okay. I'm good with that number.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if you're going to be full RFB. That's going to probably not quite, but you'll be treated pretty well, I would think.
Okay. How about number 2, Planet Hollywood?
Just a smidge higher, 5, 6, 7 kind of range, I think. Maybe not even too much higher.
Yeah. I mean, I think when I used to play at Planet Hollywood a bunch back in the day, before I was even a craps player, like 5 to 8 was my normal range when I was going for maybe 10. And I was always getting a suite there, all my food covered, tons of free play sort of thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of the kind of lower to mid properties on the strip, if you're coming for a weekend with a bankroll between 5 and 7, 5 and 8, you're going to be treated pretty well. You're going to get room offers that come with suites. I mean, it depends obviously how you're spending the money, but you're going to get room offers that come with suites. You're going to get really good food options and that kind of stuff.
Okay, stepping up a little bit more. Fontainebleau.
Ooh, Fontainebleau, I think they think of themselves as, Wynn.
Wrongly,
They want yeah, I know, but I would think over a weekend to really get, I mean, we're talking more than just a comped room. I think they would expect, at least 10, I think, for a weekend.
Okay, and you have much more familiarity than I do with Fontainebleau since you've been there multiple times.
I have a feeling that it's probably about there to get treated, to get some suites and to get some F&B and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Fourth on our list, Venetian.
Well, I mean, we speak from experience on this one, and kind of the same thing. I think to get upwards of their, to move up past their basic rooms and move into some nice free play and F&B, and you're talking kind of for a weekend 8, 9, 10 range, I think.
At least. Yeah. I mean, remember we had that, I can't remember who it was, one of the Venetian hosts that kind of laughed at a player and said that they didn't want to deal with him at a dinner that you went to. So I mean, they're pretty straightforward with what they expect. The final one on the list that she sent us, Josh, was Wynn. I'll start it off since you always go. I feel like if you want to be an RFB player there with a decent offer and truly be a player that they're concerned about, I would say bare minimum $20,000 in bankroll. But I mean, 25 is really the number there, I think. That's what they're really looking for. But I think you could get away with 20. And I don't even think, it might get you RFB, but it's not going to get you a ton at that level. I don't think that's going to get you a ton more than basic Tower Suites rooms. No. You're not getting suites. You're not getting $5,000 in free play or crazy offers or anything. That's the thing about Wynn is like to move up to a true suite at Wynn. And when I mean past Tower Suites. I mean a salon suite, a parlor suite, whatever, and F&B and free play. They're probably looking for a bankroll north of 30. Yeah, I mean, we've seen, Josh, one of their internal documents one time that one of the hosts shared with another player that we can't talk too terribly much about. But at the same time, that document detailed, based off your largest historical loss and your average bankroll or what credit limit you have open with them, they talked about the different levels that they can provide. And yeah, from what we saw, Wynn at a bare minimum for some of their better stuff, they want, credit lines of at least 30, 35,000. And really the turning point for where you can start getting into the much higher stuff is like the $75,000 to $100,000 range. Yeah, I think that's about right. I mean, I think 25,000 kind of gets you noticed a little bit, but it's not going to get you a ton. They're going to know your name, but they're not going out of their way to get you there. Yeah. That's a great question, and it's really fun to kind of think about the differences between the properties and something kind of to think about. If you want to get treated nicely on a lower bankroll, kind of don't dream about Wynn and those kind of properties. That's just, and I'm the same way. It's like, I'm not getting treated by Wynn particularly. It's fine. I don't mean to denigrate it, but they're not treating me like a king either. It's we're a little fish in the Wynn pond. But if we were to stay more regularly at Planet Hollywood, I think we could get that pool table room. I don't think it'd be a problem either, Josh. Okay, let's keep it moving. Patreon. That's patreon.com/crapvegas. What do we have new over there, Josh? Even though I told everybody earlier in the episode. Yeah, Chris, you kind of let the cat out of the bag, but most recently we did one of our fun earnings call episodes where Chris and I listened to earnings calls from a couple casino properties and talk about what they think. In this case, it was, is the sky falling? We looked at a couple property groups and is the sky falling in Vegas? And I think we came to the conclusion of it might be falling for some, but not for everyone. Yeah, I think it was really interesting because for the first time we tackled two different companies, but on polar ends of the spectrum here, we took Caesars on the low end of gambling in Vegas, and we took Wynn's earning call. And you'll hear from listening to those two calls that they had completely different understandings of what the world was like right now. Yeah. We try and make our content over on Patreon extra special. We're very regular about it. We do put out shows. We now have our Fading Crap Vegas, our football betting show, if you will, every week. And then we have alternating with this show every other week, our own special Patreon shows, CVP shows, we like to call them. So lots of fun over there. There's a couple different levels you can do to support us. If you want to support us at the highest level, you get an unedited video feed of this recording, our main shows, which is also a lot of fun. People like that. But there's lots of different ways to support us over there, and we appreciate it very much. Absolutely. So with that said, a big special thank you to the people that have signed up over the past 2 weeks for Patreon. That is Joe M., Nick V. with an annual subscription. Thank you, Nick. Michelle B. with a KCS subscription. Thanks, Michelle. And a super thank you to Tommy R. with an annual KCS subscription. Thank you, Tommy. Super thank you. Yes, super thank you. It's like Chris's super duper lock of the week over on Fading Crap Vegas. It is, over on FCV, right? Which is now 1-0, and our lock of the week is 2-0, Josh. So free money for our patrons. It pays for having a membership. It does. Upcoming trips. Josh, you and I talked about it a little bit off and on this whole episode. And we're both desperately trying to find some times to get out there in the near future. I'm looking at potentially a day at the end of September. We've talked about maybe a weekend in October, but if nothing else, I know you have some trips lined up for the end of the year.
Yeah, I've got a middle of October trip coming up. I've got a hopefully, we'll see late November trip with the Handy at the Shandy guys, Boring Jack's podcast. I'm not going to mention James and Adam. I'm just going to call it Boring Jack's podcast. Boring Jack's podcast.
I'm sure they love that, yeah.
And then, of course, Zorkfest in early December.
Awesome. Yeah, lots going on. Friendly reminder to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app and visit our merch store. That's crapvegas.com/shop. We've made it to the very end, Josh. Are we spinning the wheel?
Let's spin the wheel.
It's time to spin the Crap Vegas Big Wheel. Are you ready?
Are you still going to ask me if I'm ready?
Spin the wheel.
I'm absolutely ready.
Okay. Oh, Chris, did you see this ties right in, amazingly, to our Patreon episode? Did you see that Caesars is being removed from the S&P 500?
I did. After their most recent earnings call, I'm not exactly surprised, but that is pretty big news.
So yeah, that means that I think it's because the Caesars stock fell below the threshold that they need, their market cap, I guess, to be in the top 500 for the S&P, which is a pretty big deal. I think they adjust it like quarterly. So companies do bounce in and out, but
yeah,
it's a big deal for Vegas to have Caesars not there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising, though. Their stock has not been doing too terribly well, and we talk about that a lot on the most recent Patreon episode, so check that out if you kind of want to hear what's going on over there. But yeah, I mean, it's not a great look for Vegas, I guess.
No, and I think I saw, Chris, over the last 5 years, Caesars stock is down like 46%.
Yeah.
Like it to me, I mean, you can talk about, is it because of the state of the economy right now, that kind of thing. But when you look at that, when you look at the 5-year history being down 46%, I don't think this is a relatively long-term issue with Caesars. And not to pick on Caesars too much, but the market isn't liking what they're doing.
No, I mean, it's just a relatively poorly managed company, it feels like, in the gambling space. It seems like they're always making the wrong moves. They have to rely on certain things to generate their income. Like on our most recent earnings call, we even talk about some steps that Caesars takes to try to boost their revenue. They have to do some things that other properties don't necessarily have to do to get gamblers on site.
And I think, and I haven't looked at it, but I think they carry a huge amount of debt. So
they do.
There's a lot
Debt's
of debt
always been a massive issue there. Their properties have always been, a little dilapidated compared to the others and not getting the love that they need. And they just don't have the cash flow to really do what they need to do. And I think it always hurts that they don't really have a top-end property in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, Caesars is what they would think of as, and Caesars is a nice property and it has nice aspects to it. But no, I don't think it compares with the other property groups in their top-tier properties.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Anything else on the wheel this week, Josh?
Yeah, well, give it one more spin, see what we get.
Okay.
Oh, Chris, this is since we had week 1 of the NFL season kickoff this past weekend. I thought it was worth commenting on the Circus Sports Survivor Pool. Did you hear how much money they got this year?
No, I didn't. I always see that every year. I have no interest really, in participating though, so I never pay attention to where it ends up.
I think it's like $1,000 to enter. So, but they got up to $18.7 million in guaranteed Survivor Pool.
Oh, wow.
The prize, right?
Yeah, because they always do an overlay at the beginning to make sure they hit a certain level.
Right. I think it was $15 million.
And I think this year, if I saw correctly, I don't know if they do this every year because, again, I don't participate. But I think they actually have 3 levels that you can come in on. Like they have like a Circus Survivor and a Super Survivor. Like one's 1,000, one's 10,000, one's like 100,000 or something. So I think they had, I don't know, like 15 or 20 people participating in the massive one.
Yeah, they've got a Grandissimo as the big one.
I couldn't remember what they called it. It's really interesting how they do that. I have learned over time, Josh, I am just not good at these Survivor contests. I feel like on any given week I can pick a winner, but like I'm not good at planning 13 weeks out in the future.
That's the hard part.
On week 14, I really need a winner here and it's a bad week. I can't do that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have that issue. You can look at the week in front of you. I mean, this last week I picked the Broncos and they beat the Titans, and I think that was the most common Survivor Pool pick. But
was it the best use of a team in week 1 where the Broncos might have been very useful in week 15 if you were sticking around that long?
Right.
Yeah.
And Chris, speaking of, how did you fare and how did our participants fare in the Crap Vegas fantasy pool over on our Patreon?
Well, it looks like everybody did pretty well from what I'm seeing in green highlights here, Josh. So far, as of today, only 3 people got eliminated in week 1.
Oh, wow.
They picked, one person picked the Patriots. That was
a lot
Maryland,
of people
by
in the
way.
circle one picked the Patriots too.
It looks like Michelle picked Kansas City. That was unfortunate.
Oh.
And one other person forgot to make a pick. So that's unfortunate, but I used the Broncos last week as well, which I think was by far the most common pick. Yeah, and according to our statistics in our league, Josh, the Broncos were used 29% of the time. The Cardinals were used 21% last week. The Commanders, 16%. The Eagles, 12%. And the Bengals at 8% were the highest. We had some random people use other teams. Gosh, like some people, one person picked the Packers, that's crazy considering their matchup.
Wow. I guess, yeah.
I mean, one person picked the Bucks. So these people, maybe they're just much smarter than we are.
They're planning out. They're extrapolating out to week
Going
14.
for the future.
Right.
Yeah.
And Chris, in what could be the most perfect timing thing ever, we have a brand new patron that just came through on Patreon this very second.
Okay.
Jamie is a brand new patron, an annual patron. So thank you, Jamie.
Oh, Jamie, you just snuck in right on time. Okay, Josh, anything else on the wheel before we get out of here?
That's it for the wheel.
Okay. Well, guys, this has been a ton of fun. We hope you enjoyed it. And we will talk to you in a couple weeks on episode 90.
Thanks so much for your support, everybody. Bye-bye.
Vegas, here we come.
Thanks for listening to the Crap Vegas podcast.
Have you ever been to Vegas?
Check out all our recent news and our Vegas trip calendar by visiting crapvegas.com.
See you in Vegas.
Okay, just as a heads up, I don't have any math written down on any piece of paper in front
You're
of me.
You're the math guy.
So
Oh, let me start that over.
Statistics, we're screwed. Have you ever gone to one of these like sing-along events where the crowd like gets super into it?
Yeah, kinda. Not really.
Okay, so they've done.
Hold on.
Yeah, you know, yeah, no.
Perfect.
Perfect.